At this point, we all know I'm not a stranger to Sonic OCs, especially when they're really bad Sonic OCs. I have a whole video series dedicated to talking about my past OCs, as well as showing off my old art. However, when I first started making OCs, while I was drawing terrible art of them, I was also recoloring over screenshots, specifically of Sonic X, to make pictures of them all. And I wasn't the only one doing this. There was a huge community on YouTube of people recoloring their OCs. They would make videos dedicated to their recolors, speed paint style videos where they would recolor their OCs or maybe do requests, making adoptable recolors, and so much more. So today I want to walk down memory lane and talk about it, and if you weren't there for it, get ready for a wild ride. I was going to draw some Sonic OCs for this video, but since we're specifically talking about recolors, I thought I'd really throw it back and do some old style recolors while we talk, so you can really get immersed in the experience. Trust me, if you weren't there for it, you definitely missed out on an era, so let me do my best to try and recreate this all for you. Let's get into it. Let's start with what a recolor is. I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory, but a Sonic recolor was taking a picture from an official Sonic source, 99% of the time it came from Sonic X, and editing it to be your Sonic OC. Actually, back then, they weren't even called OCs. They were called FCs, which stood for fan characters. There used to be a lot of arguments about this. If you called your Sonic recolor an OC, you would be flamed because OC stands for original character, and your character wasn't original, it was from the Sonic universe. I honestly don't know why people cared so much, but they were very passionate about this detail. Recoloring Sonic X screenshots was so popular, though, that there was literally a whole website dedicated to hosting screenshots from the show that recolor artists could browse through and pick from. And if you think that means there are tons of recolors of particular screenshots, then you're right. I can literally tell you what episodes certain Sonic X screenshots come from now because of that website, because it was all organized based on the episode number. The website was called Team Artail, but if you try to go to it now, you'll see it's completely wiped. Rest in peace, Team Artail. You helped so many kids create bad Sonic OCs, including me. People recolored Sonic X screenshots most of the time, but I did see plenty of recolors of other official Sonic art as well. Early on, I would also see recolors of popular Sonic fan art made by independent artists, and I'm assuming this happened because it was mainly kids who didn't really know any better doing it. Don't worry though, once people figured out that was wrong, if you were caught recoloring fan art, you would be super flamed. Maybe not the way that should have been handled, but I'm glad everyone was so passionately against art theft at least. Cream, Amy, and Cosmo were definitely the most popular characters to recolor over, but there were plenty of Rouge, Sonic, Shadow, Knuckles. I've even seen a few people recolor over Maria. I don't think I've ever seen a Chris Thorndike recolor though. I think it's funny that as a whole, the fandom hated Chris so much that no one even wanted to use him as a base for their OCs. The overwhelming majority of people in the Sonic community who were making recolors were kids, and I was right there with them. I would spend tons of time making dozens upon dozens of recolors of my hundreds of Sonic OCs. Usually people made them in Paint, but if you were real fancy and good at recoloring, you would use Photoshop or Paint Tool SAI. Or if you were me, you used Photoshop and you were still bad at it because you had a Mac and not a PC, and that meant you couldn't use them as Paint unless you ran a virtual environment that took up so much RAM it constantly made your computer shit itself. But that's neither here nor there. But now you're probably asking yourself, okay, you were all making tons of recolors, what were you doing with them? Just looking at them? To which I say no, of course not. We were doing the sensible thing and making terrible YouTube videos of them. The Sonic community used to be huge on YouTube. There were tons of kids, again including me, posting badly edited videos of our Sonic recolors, and it was totally awesome. I didn't come into the Sonic YouTube scene until 2009 as a small wee baby Kira, but I'm pretty sure it existed even before then. I've definitely seen videos that were uploaded all the way back in 2008. The most popular kind of video by far were videos set to music. Think AMVs, but there were no animated clips, only pictures of Sonic recolors. These videos were literally just pictures of recolors that flashed around on the screen with fancy effects set to copyrighted music. And I can't even tell you how much time I spent watching and making these things. Here, let me give you a tiny example of one of my old ones. I'll also warn you that if you're sensitive to fast-moving images, then skip ahead a few seconds to avoid it. All around there is some people crying. I'm here to confuse it. anything impressive, but people would put a crazy amount of effects on these things, and they would take hours, even days to make. Most of them actually had things like epilepsy warnings in the title because they were just that flashy. Like, you couldn't even see the characters on screen at that point, and if you blinked, you missed half the video. These were so popular, though. They were literally some of the only videos I watched on YouTube, which would explain why I'm like this now. Those flashy Sonic videos weren't the only popular videos, though. Another big one were Sonic adoption videos. They actually worked very similar to how adoptable characters work today. Someone would recolor a bunch of characters, then make a video showing all of them off for people to adopt and take as their own. They were always free, and usually the only thing you had to do to adopt the character you wanted was to be the first one who commented asking for them. Simple enough, but my god, whenever people who were popular in the community, or known as quote good recolor artists, post an adoption video, all hell broke loose. People would be racing to that comment section trying to claim any character they could before they were all gone. There'd also be so many fights about who was first and who would get the character. I remember I adopted a couple characters from adoption videos like this, and let me tell you, I felt like an absolute god. I felt better than everyone who was too late and didn't get a character. And I was better than them. No, I'm just kidding. But that's how intense things were. People would also do videos where they'd show off their characters / recolors. They'd show off their characters' quote theme songs, and people would even make videos hosting recolor contests for people who could either recolor their own character the best, or people who could make the best character design. The prizes for those contests would usually be other recolored characters, and once again, if the person was popular in the community, people would go feral for them. There'd be dozens of entries of people trying to claw their way to the Amy Rose recolor that everyone wanted that was the first place prize. Now, while the Sonic recolor community on YouTube was a lot of fun, there is no such thing as an online community without drama. And oh god, there was drama. I think in hindsight, the funniest drama was flaming, quote, unoriginal characters. Yes, if you noticed, flaming other people was a big trend here. Remember how I mentioned there were popular people in the community? Well, the way you got popular was by making really nicely edited recolors that had unique designs. And if your recolors were deemed bad or unoriginal, then you would get rocks thrown at you. No, I'm kidding, but it was almost like there was a war on, quote, bad recolors. If your recolors were messy, then no one wanted anything to do with your characters. Same if your characters were unoriginal, and by that I mean, you recolored Amy Rose into your OC, but the only thing that changes is her hair is purple and the dress is now green. People were so afraid of their characters being deemed unoriginal that they would bend over backwards trying to explain, no, my character is totally different. Yeah, she's purple Amy with the green dress, but she has a ponytail, so she's totally different. In hindsight, it was just funny. It was a bunch of kids. Of course there's going to be designs like this. Of course the older kids were able to make more unique designs for their characters, while the younger kids were just dipping their toes in the water. I was one of the younger kids, and I definitely had my fair share of characters that were just color swaps of canon characters, but I definitely tried my best to give them hair and outfits that made them look different. And they may have looked ugly, but no one was going to catch me dead with an unoriginal OC. How dare you? Another thing that happened was a lot of, quote, stealing other people's recolored OCs. So, like I said, people would show off their recolors of their OCs by making videos and even uploading them to PhotoBucket, and every so often there'd be a, quote, thief. These thieves would essentially download the recolors of a popular recolor artist, recolor over the recolor, stay with me now, I know this is a lot. They would just change the colors of the OC's design and then claim them as their own. When the original recolor artists, that sounds like an oxymoron now, saw the video, they would make their own video asking their friends and subscribers to go flame this person until they took the video down. Now, this was an interesting trend because while I can totally buy there were some actual thieves who were just kids who didn't know better and they just liked the characters of their favorite creators and wanted to have them too, I specifically remember there being one popular recolor artist who seemed to get her character stolen literally every week. Every single week there would be a new video posted of someone stealing her OCs and she would constantly be sending people to flame them. I didn't think anything of it, but now I'm like, were there really that many people stealing your OCs? Or was this you just trying to pull the wool over all of our eyes? Because I mean, when I was a dumb idiot kid, I also made a second YouTube account to try and steal my own OCs. I made a whole video about it. And I know I wasn't the only one who had this idea, so... Being a part of the Sonic Recolor community on YouTube was really fun, and it did a lot in helping me create characters and even start learning how to draw better when I was branching out for more recolors. It was a kind of strange time, but still a fun one nonetheless. You really had to be there though, it was a trip to experience. Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. This time I'm not even going to ask you to like or subscribe because I literally just made you watch me recolor Sonic X screenshots while I talked about a strange YouTube community. So I'll just see you in the next one. Bye guys!